Uh, Frank is an alumni and honored guest of Eagle Group Weekly Meeting. He's been a faithful attender and job seeker, and I've asked him to present on his job search strategy. So, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Frank?
Sure. My name is Frank Topar. I spent 9 years in the United States Air Force as a ground radio maintenance technician. When I first got out of the military, I got out because I was young and dumb, or I would have stayed in and retired in 2000. So I thought I could make lots of money outside the military, which I made pretty decent money. But the military was paying my rent. They were paying my utilities. They were paying everything that I didn't realize I was going to have to pay. So my wife and I moved to Minnesota in 1997 for a job. I was working as a subcontractor for Hughes Network Systems, doing digital satellite installations for shopping malls and Texaco and Chevron stations for the credit card readers and things like that. They moved us to Minnesota in July of 1997. And a year after I got that job, it's been a wild ride since way before I started all this stuff. After 1 year, they closed down the place that moved me here. Hughes shut down their hub in Minneapolis. Thankfully, US West was waiting, and they hired 8 out of the 10 of us that got let go with Hughes. So I was with that job as a network engineer. I did that for 4 years, got laid off by them when Quest took them over. Got rehired by Quest as a non-exempt manager. Worked with the dial-up, and then when it changed over to broadband and stuff, I stayed with that. Worked there for 6 more years, got laid off again. And then CenturyLink bought them, and they called me and wanted to hire me back. I said, no thanks, you guys have laid me off twice. So I was going through a job search back then for about 14 months. Found a job at CompuCom Systems in Plymouth, or in Edina. I worked for them as a level 2 network engineer for 10 years, and then got laid off there when I was on the Ameriprise Financial remote worker program account, and they decided to take all that work in-house because they were paying CompuCom too much. And then I went to temp agencies. I went through 2 or 3 of them, but the longest one I was with was Kelly IT Systems. Jason got me a job as a network PMO manager at Ingram Micro in Chaska. And I did that for about 3 months, and then that project went dead. Then he got me a job somewhere completely and entirely outside my comfort zone. I was doing remote testing with English as a second language kids from kindergarten through high school. We supplied the testing materials and the computers, laptops, iPads, all that stuff, and then the software for them to test. And I did that until the school season was over, and I got laid off March 2020 and was unemployed until just recently. So now we're caught up to now. So the job search, when I first got here, I didn't have to do a lot of job hunting because people were hiring the whole time I was here. I just went from job to job to job, getting after I got laid off and stuff. And after this last one in March, I figured it'd be the same thing. In a couple of months, I would be working, and it did not turn out that way. I was unemployed from March 20th until about 5 weeks ago. So I did the same old thing that I used to do before I met all the people here. I was using 8 or 10 job boards, using some temp sites, some temp agencies. And I was getting so frustrated. I uploaded my resume to several of these sites, and I was getting, 20, 30 a day, people getting back to me for jobs, but apparently I was putting in my search information incorrectly or something, because I was getting cybersecurity jobs. I was getting air traffic control jobs. I was getting things that aren't on my resume. I don't know how I was getting all these. And I was just getting really, really, really frustrated. Um, Apparently I didn't know what I was doing, even with the area. I thought I had the area. I put in my area code, but I was getting job offers from people in New Jersey and in New York and in Pennsylvania and out in California. I said, people, I live in Minnesota. Did you not read my resume? So during that part of the job search at the beginning, I was frustrated because I couldn't get the right jobs. So I started getting really, really, really depressed. I couldn't find anything. And there's after, from March to probably like July or August, I had several people sending me jobs. My emails were full every day from people sending me a bunch of useless jobs that I was never going to take. And I didn't know exactly what I was doing wrong. I had worked with the Workforce Center, which I did the first time I got laid off back in 2001. And they were able to help me out. This time around, it didn't go that well. And I was trying to still stay in technical support, network engineering, network support. And there was just nobody that was hiring during this pandemic for those. And I'm not sure why. I thought that was going to be a pretty hot job. So what I ended up doing after a while was like I said, I got really depressed. I was down and out. I was just about to the point to where I was going to accept whatever job I needed to accept to start working on jobs that I knew I wasn't going to like. But I was really sick and tired of being stuck at home. And since you guys have already been through the job search, you know that job hunting is a full-time career in itself that you don't get paid for. Part of the issue with COVID was that the unemployment and the stimulus packages and stuff, I was making more than I would have been making at any one of the jobs who called me and wanted to hire me on. I'm like, you guys, I'm a 9-year Air Force veteran, and I've been with the phone company for 10 years. I'm a network engineer. You want to pay me $15, $16 an hour? That's just not going to cut it. And I'm not positive because I can't prove it, but I also think because I'm 60 years old, I was also probably dealing with some ageism issues. I actually was told to my face a couple of times, since they can't ask your birthday, they will ask you what year you graduated high school. Not much of a difference. So, I've been told to my face, we're looking for somebody that we can hire that'll work for us for 20 or 30 years, not somebody that's 60 years old that's going to want to retire in 5 or 10 years. So I kept getting turned down or saying that I was overqualified and that they weren't going to be able to keep me happy if I took this job or that job. And I was just so frustrated. I got, I don't know if I've told everybody in the group, but way back when I was in the military, I was an alcoholic. And when I got out, I drank and smoked marijuana for about 20 years. And finally, I got a wake-up call one morning when I woke up sweating and shaking, and I had to have a couple of beers to calm myself down and stop shaking. So I checked myself into the VA hospital in Boise, and I ended up getting myself cleaned up in 1996, and I've been sober now for 25 years it is now, I think. So I was getting really depressed. I started thinking about possibly drinking again or something. So I actually got in touch with a psychologist and was talking with a psychologist via Zoom for a couple of months. And then talking with her, she told me that I needed to get my butt off the couch, stop sitting on the pity pot, and start looking for some work. So I ended up getting hold of the VA. They put me in touch with DAV and with the MACB. And I think the first guy that I talked to was Zach. And I'm telling you, that guy is a motivational speaker. He was screaming to me, he goes, you better get your ass up and start looking for jobs. You can't just be sitting there. Jobs ain't going to come to your house and find you. You need to get out and do some work. So just stop your pity pot and let's get you going here. He gave me a few more numbers. And I ended up talking with, turn my page here. I ended up talking with Scott Harris. I talked with David Wold, and they got me started with my revamping my resume, because my resume, I hadn't had to do a resume in 10, 12 years. And I'm sure that a lot of things have changed since then. So I wasn't passing any of the automatic screening things, I'm sure. And I also had about a 6-page resume because I've been in the workforce since 1979. So I had to get that cut down to, I think we got it down to like 2.5 pages. But working with Zach and with Scott. Scott's the one that got me started with the resume, redoing the resume, got me in touch with Bob Anderson, and Bob redid my resume for me. And then I also was talking with Renee here, and she had taught me how to do Boolean searches to use on Deed and on LinkedIn and on some of these other sites I was at. And that helped me narrow down all the crap jobs I was getting. I actually started getting some network technician jobs, some desktop support, which I didn't really want, but at least it was better than, somebody wanting to hire me as a maintenance engineer at a church or whatever, doing the janitor work, because that's all that was coming. So I learned how to do Boolean searches by coming to this group. Dave Wold is actually the one that told me about the group, and he connected me with Alan, and Alan sent me a link to a meeting, and I've been coming ever since. I'm not sure how long ago it was. I've been here for a while now, but talking with these guys, you guys out there were my support. Every time I came to a meeting, I mean, I was at a point where I was just ready to give up. Like I said, I was just going to take, if I had to, I was going to flip burgers. Would you like fries with that, ma'am? I was going to do whatever I had to do. And Alan sent me a copy of the book, the 20-minute networking meeting. And after I got through probably the first 2.5 chapters, I started writing notes down out of that. And I used the little, the template that they had in there. And I started talking to CEOs. I was talking to CFOs. I was talking to hiring managers. I went way outside my comfort zone because I normally will not do that kind of thing. I'm too scared to talk to somebody that's that high up. But if you don't step outside your comfort zone and you don't do something like that, you're probably going to get stuck. And I was stuck. So I read the book. I started doing my homework. I talked to Randall Kasberg. I talked to Robert Willis. I talked to Michelle. A lot of people were giving me different pointers and different things to do, different contacts. I went from, I think I had 50 or 60 contacts on LinkedIn, and today I have over 500. And that's just from going out and doing my homework and looking up the companies I wanted to work for, getting hold of the hiring managers or the CEOs or whoever happened to be on LinkedIn and asking them, I'm not looking for a job. I'm not going to ask you for a job. I just like to know if you would like to chat about, what's the workforce like out there right now? Are you seeing an uptick? Are you seeing a downtick? What are the jobs that you're seeing that are pretty hot right now? So I would just do my networking meeting with these people, and I started getting interviews out of those. And then after probably about 3 months or so of doing that, I didn't have to keep reaching out anymore. I had people calling me and emailing me, telling me they found my resume on LinkedIn, they found my resume on Indeed, on Minnesota Works, and calling me in for job interviews. There were a couple that I had at the beginning when I started getting the calls that I was really excited about getting, and they fell through for one reason or another, and I didn't get them. So then I started thinking, well, maybe it's my interview skills that really suck. But some of the people that I was working with through this group said, I think you got a great personality, and I think you're doing fine with your interview skills, and I'm not sure why you're not getting hired. That's when I went back to, maybe it was the age thing, that I wasn't getting anything because they knew that I was 60 years old and they thought I was going to be looking for way too much money or something. They wouldn't be able to keep me happy. So instead of being down on myself when all this stuff started happening, I told my wife, I said, I just talked to 2 CEOs and a CFO today. I can't believe it. And she was like, you did what? And I said, yeah, I know. It's awesome. And she saw a huge change in my attitude. Trying not to get emotional because it really was an emotional time for me. But after I started talking to these people and they started calling me to come in, I ended up with 2 really good leads that I had gotten off of LinkedIn. I interviewed for both of them in person, and they both wanted to hire me. So now I had a decision to make that I never thought I was going to make. I couldn't find a job. Now I have to choose between 2 jobs. Which one do I want more than the other one? So I interviewed with both. Part of it was I didn't make money the whole thing. I know it was kind of, part of it, obviously, the benefits and all that kind of stuff. But what I was more looking for, being my age and being through everything I've been through with all this job search stuff, I was looking for a company that I wanted to work for, somebody that had a good work culture, somebody that was diverse, somebody that had different kinds of people with different backgrounds, different experience. And I got most of mine when I was in the military. So I narrowed it down to North Country Business Products, which is who I ended up going to work for about 5 weeks ago. And it's, again, I'm outside my comfort zone because I've never done anything. They supply equipment and technicians to install and to maintain POS equipment for restaurants, for casinos, for hotels and motels, gas stations, candy stores, liquor stores. And I had no clue what all this stuff was. I've heard of NCR before, and I've heard of Dynatech and some of these other ones, but I never worked on any of it. I knew the networking part of it. I mean, I could go in and install the stuff and hook it up to the network, but I had no idea what I'm doing with this. And when I interviewed with my current boss now, Anthony, he said, well, we know what we're getting into. We love your attitude. We love your willingness to learn. I know you don't know any of this stuff, but we got a great training program here. Your first 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be training. We'll make sure that you get up to speed on the equipment we have. And we'll just go from there. We'll start doing some shadowing with people on the phones, and then we'll do reverse shadowing and have them watching you, and we'll see how you do, and we'll see how it goes. And if it goes all right, then I got to wait. See, it's been 5 weeks now. This is my 6th week. I think I've got another 3 weeks I got to go, and then they're going to make a decision whether they want to keep me or not. But so far, everything I've heard from all the guys that I'm working with has been great. I can't thank them enough for giving me the opportunity when they knew when I started, I was pretty much going to know nothing about what I was doing other than being technical. So I would say, if you're struggling with finding work out there, any of you are struggling with it, you're in the right place, because these are the people around us right here that we're talking with that are going to be able to help you. And if they can't help you, they'll get you in touch with people that can. They just changed my attitude from being downtrodden and being beaten to lifting my spirits, lifting my attitude, making me get off my butt and go to work at finding work. And it ended up paying off. I mean, it was a long, hard struggle, but it paid off. So I would say that just keep plugging away. I got turned down so many times. I got, interviews that sounded like everything went great. And then I would get an email, the little obligatory email. Oh, although your experience is very impressive, we went in another direction. So I would just say, read that book. If you have not read the 20-minute networking book, please read it. That changed my entire strategy for just going to job boards, going to temp agencies, to actually talking to people that could hire me. These other guys, they don't care. I was just a number. You know, either you get hired or you don't, big deal. I actually worked my butt off to try to get this. And with the help of Alan and David and all you guys here, I mean, it's just great. Well, that's all I have. Read the book. Read the book. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man, for telling us your story. That's a really compelling message. And we appreciate that you shared it, because job search, when it's done alone, man, can be extremely discouraging if you're not careful. And so, you know, you sharing your story about how you managed your situation, how you reached out for help, I think that's a great message for all of us to hear. So thank you for that. And celebration, congratulations on getting the job, man. Well done.
Way to go, Frank. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
Great
another
job,
thing
Frank.
too. I may be getting relocated to the Kansas City office.
Well, you can
some
still
people down in Missouri. We were down on vacation for 2 weeks in Branson, so we were checking out the area, looking for homes and stuff like that. And Marianne's taking some classes for medical coding, so she's ready to retire anyway. She's been with CenturyLink for 21 years. So I think that probably by October we're going to be living in Missouri.
Oh man, that'll be exciting. Congrats.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So what questions do folks have of Frank on his process?
I just want to congratulate you, Frank, because you are inspirational in this. I remember first meeting you at one of the Wednesday night meetings, and it was really clear that you are talented and had lots of experience. And I commend you because you absolutely were willing to say, you know, I'm here because I want to be among, I want the camaraderie, and hey, who will help me? And it was so cool to see you as weeks passed and you showed up, and just the help that you asked for. And as you told your story here, you reached out to everyone and always came back and told us how things were going. And you were willing to share and say, listen, I'm willing to share to help everybody else. And here tonight, you did that again. And it just, man, your story is super inspirational, and you deserve everything good that came to you. And you fought the fight, and you kept getting back up, and you rubbed a little dirt in it, and then you walked forward again, and man, you did it. And so congratulations. We can't wait to hear more about your successes. Just thank you so much. Good on you, and good on your wife too. The best to you. Best wishes.
Thanks.
Well said, Michelle. So, and you're thinking about applying the lessons that Frank learned to your job search about changing what you're doing, or maybe how to change what you're doing. What questions does that bring up for folks that are in job search? I know everybody in this group is doing everything right and doing it the right way, because based on all the people that are getting interviews, right? That's doing real well.
Frank, I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So also study the 20-minute networking book. I keep it with me and make notes in it. And I literally keep a binder full of all the interview pages that I've done or networking pages that I've done and everything else. Mm-hmm. But where my question comes in is, you mentioned talking to, CEOs, CFOs, COOs. I've been targeting more people within the positions that I've been looking at. What kind of questions have you been asking, CEOs and such? Because that is one, admittedly, that I struggle with, is knowing what to ask those kinds of people, and how to keep that conversation going and come across as intelligent. So how did you necessarily phrase those, and what did you say?
Well, the few that I talked to, I probably talked to, I don't know, 10 or 12 that were up pretty high in the companies. And I just told them, well, first of all, that I wasn't trying to talk to them to have them give me a job, the first thing that I brought up to them was that I'm just trying to build my network. I've been looking for work for a while. I am trying to get a feel for what it's like out there in the network support industry, in the financial industry, for the IT industry, anything that had to do with IT. So I would just ask them specific questions, like, are you seeing the trends going up for cybersecurity? Or maybe I took some Scrum classes, which I forgot to mention. I got Scrum certified as a Scrum Master with Alan's help again. Thanks, Alan. So I started asking just different questions about not only the positions I was looking for technical support, for client account support, for IT network support. I just was asking them, what is your take on the hiring process right now? Is your company hiring a lot of people? Are you laying off like a lot of the other companies are? Are you just at a standstill? What's your personal outlook on the workforce right now? What are you seeing? And those are the kinds of questions I asked them, and they would just go on for 15 or 20 minutes telling me exactly what they were going through.
Okay. I appreciate you.
I was scared to death talking to these people because I don't do that.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to get out of my shell as a financial advisor and try talking to people, and then I got beat down relentlessly trying to make this this career work. And so then Randy turns around and tells me, well, you're going to have to keep doing it, but you're now going to reach out to people and talk to them about their jobs, which I found to be a lot easier. But trying to reach those CEOs, and it just left me questioning, okay, how do I come across as intelligent questions without just asking very basic things? So I appreciate you sharing that. Additionally, I wanted to say I appreciate you sharing your struggle. One of the things I told Alan today was that's what I came here for, was basically as a moral support group, because I've been just getting beat down left, right, and center. And kind of how you mentioned you were ready to just go be a fry cook somewhere and flip burgers, and I've literally looked at very similar things, your basic mechanics and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. As I continue to look, because I've been feeling the same grind. So I appreciate you sharing that, and gives me, re-energizes me to keep the fight going.
Well, good. I hope I can be energizing to somebody else, because you people were amazing. One thing, look at the questions that people are sending here in this chat. Read those questions, because there's questions, the list that I put in there from LinkedIn, they actually cover like 26 different positions, and they have anywhere from 20 to 30 questions in different career fields and at different levels of the career field. That's where I got the questions from that I was asking these CEOs, and asking to the hiring managers, and asking to other network engineers that I was talking to, is these different questions that I got from the group. I used some of those. And then I just went and looked up in LinkedIn 25 top interviewing questions. And they brought me to the link that I put in there in the chat, that there's literally hundreds of questions in there. So depending on what level you're at and what you're looking for and who you're going to talk to, they point those questions towards the specific position and to the people you're talking to speak to the people you're talking to.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
See, Frank, you're still giving back, man.
I'm trying.
So I've tried to open that link, Frank, that you posted, and it just spins on my phone. So I don't know if it's because I'm on it. I'm not really sure, but I've been trying to open that link.
Which link is that?
The one that Frank posted.
It's the interview questions that are on LinkedIn.
Trying to find it. I want to click on it just and see.
I just reposted it. Jason, give it a shot on your side to see if it works.
Jason, I can email you that link.
And it may just be because of your phone. I just pulled it up too.
Yeah, it does come up.
Okay, I'll take an email since I'm struggling with
I'll-
technology.
I'll,
Right
I'll,
after.
I'll email you the link, Jason.
Thank
Having IT problems over there.
you.
It's
That's
okay,
why I'm
Jason.
going
Your
for
flip
supply
phone.
chain.
It's okay, Jason. Your flip phone is doing great.
Actually, I'm going back to the flip phone. I'm tired of this tracking stuff.
Hey, having IT problems, I can help.
Frank now is doing pro bono work.
Yeah. For this group, I would.
That's awesome. Other questions for Frank?
So Alan, you had put in the sidebar, because Frank brought this up earlier, and it kind of brought up the radar for me too, because I knew we had talked about this, and it's funny, sometimes folks kind of bring up in their job search, over 50 folks. Alan, you posted something in the sidebar that's on mn.gov from Deed, and it's kind of a list of what are the questions that folks can't really ask you. It comes up for all of us. What we wonder, like, Kate, could they ask me that in the job interview? And you had found a resource for us. Was that on mn.gov, the guide to things that folks can't in interview ask you?
Yeah, I'll repost it. It's where it came from was actually and I appreciate the shout out, because I used to teach this class. It came from a career class that Deed, the Workforce Center, or Career Force Center as it's now known, teaches, called Creative Job Search. And so they actually do cover this as one of their topics. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to our folks at the Workforce Center, Career Force Center here on the call tonight. If you have questions about job search, they have a great class that they can share with you. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, because it brought up this thing for me that I hear, and I've been hearing this kind of over the years, that when I hear folks over 50 talk about job search, and they'll say, I don't like ageism, but I know, because they'll hear a lot of people say, well, there's no such thing as ageism. And my point that I had brought up in the sidebar for folks is that if we hear more than one person say, I heard in the interview, well, you're overqualified, and it's followed by, because you'd be too bored here for this, or we couldn't keep you interested. And then I'll just say, for me, I've heard way more than one person over 50 say this is how they were responded to. And then they'll say, well, why did you so then that they got called in for the interview, and maybe even a second one, but they heard this repeatedly. And then if we as job coaches have actually learned how to teach people, well, when you hear this, you're overqualified, and followed by this, here's how you respond to it. I invite everybody to consider that, well, if it looks like job discrimination of ageism, well, then we have an ageism problem in job discrimination. And so the first thing I would invite everybody to do is maybe we stop telling people over 50 that there's no such thing as ageism. And we start keeping our ears up for it, and start having the opportunity that when we do talk to hiring managers in our position, because we have so many great connections, in the same way that we teach them, how do you work with veterans in transition, we can have the opportunity to maybe talk to them more in a really positive way about how not to talk to people over 50, and to help them appreciate the qualities of the over 50 worker. And that, many over 50 workers, for instance, as Frank had said, listen, we think you're only going to be around a couple of years. Oh no, they're actually going to be around many, many years working with you. So I wanted to throw this out on the table. And then I know that Deed, Renee had pointed out, Deed does have an over 40, 50, and 60 workers classes. So that's kind of something that I'm really passionate about, because I've heard so many people one-on-one talk to me about their frustration as an over 50 worker of being so excited about getting called into an interview, and then hearing this same thing over and over again, trying to massage that, trying to manage that, and then not getting the job as well. I don't know how that lands for anybody else.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, I even tried at one point when they told me that I was overqualified, that I turned it back around on them and said, well, I wouldn't look at it from your perspective of being overqualified. You won't have to train me, and I can also help you train other people, so you won't have to pay another employee to train people. And I got a second interview after that, but they still chose someone else that was younger than me. They actually interviewed both of us the same day. He came in right after I did, and he was younger. I don't want to say how much, but he was younger.